Okay. I'm getting really tired of this. So, I just filmed a really long video, maybe half an hour's worth of footage, where I teach myself to use a Western saw. And learning something for the first time and the initial troubleshooting is so valuable, which is why I was doing it, because nobody ever showed me. But it's gone forever now, so I guess I guess I'm just gonna have to replicate my process approximately. So here, I'm gonna show you first why I use a pulse saw. Watch my cut with this. Nice and clean. Look at that. Okay, so here's what my problem was with a push saw. It binds up instantly. All right. So I tried lots of other things. Here, I'll use a featherweight. I'll back it up to try and even that out. Nope, just kind of tears its way through. I'm holding with my finger up here to stabilize it so that it has an easier time tracking left to right, because it's harder to get it off track if you're holding it this way in the first place. Okay, now I'm holding it with way less than the weight of the saw itself. It's still driving down and binding in. And I thought that might be because I'm trying to supply the force from here or from here. But if you're using like an empty hand strike, where your hands are open, your strike point is here. So, and that, if I were to do it that way with this saw handle, that would put my line of action right down the middle of the saw. So maybe that's it. And I find, wonder of wonders, yes, that is the case. That means that these fingers are kind of just for stability, because the thing where it's actually supplying the force is right here. Which, in all the maybe 35 videos that I looked through to try and troubleshoot this problem, nobody mentioned, not one. Okay. Now you notice that while you're watching that, it still binds up quite a lot. And it tore out quite a bit at the end there. But let's compare. So this side is fairly smooth, and this side is a lot scruffier. Both aren't perfect, but the push saw is definitely leaving a rougher finish there. That might be teeth per inch. That might be the bevel of the teeth, because the bevel on these is set by machine and is probably much tighter than the one that I put on this one. The saw was freshly sharpened. That was part of my troubleshooting. Some of it is definitely going to be technique, but here's the biggest problem. Let's say you're trying to stabilize something, okay? So I'm holding it from the bottom here. that means that my lifting of this saw is a pushing force pushing up. Whenever there's any little like knocking off center like that, or any adjustment in any way, I have to move a lot, because if it goes off center, the resisting force wants to exaggerate the motion. But if I hold it, if I'm lifting it from the bottom, the resisting force of gravity will naturally recenter it back into the direction that I'm pulling it. And so I'm lifting against gravity is easier than pushing against gravity. And pushing against the wood is going to be harder than pulling against the wood. At least that's my theory. Now, that's not to say that you can't do really good work with a push saw. There are some positions where it would be way better if I could consistently and easily use a push saw to the same degree that I can use a pull saw. If I've got, let's say this is just resting on my workbench and I just press a knee over it, I would much rather be able to saw down where the workbench is resisting. That'd be much easier than if I've got my knee on it and I'm pulling up this way, and it's only my knee that is resisting the force of my cut. Now, there shouldn't be that much force anyway, because you shouldn't be transferring too much force onto the wood itself, because that's a huge part of the digging problem, is when it moves the entire table that way, that is a symptom of the problem. It shouldn't be doing that. And if I'm pushing up here, that means that my line of action is off-center, and as I'm pushing forward, it's going to try to rotate the saw down and pull it into sticking, which is another part of the problem. Let's see if I can... when it's bound up like that, it's hard to get it restarted. It's easier, but it's not as easy as the pull saw to change direction with this new technique. And by change direction, I mean change the pitch where I'm cutting. It'd be a good idea for me to learn to use a push saw even better than this, but I think for the amount of improvement that I've shown in this amount of time, this is about as much as I want to put into it for quite a while, so that's just going to have to be good. If you've been having trouble with a push saw, I hope this was helpful to you, or at least it gave you a good place to start from. Pushing from the bottom, much better than pushing from the top. Alright, thanks.